Finding a job is tough right now for thousands of Floridians. So when word of a new company coming to a small Bay Area town spread, people had high hopes.
Rural Hardee County gave this company millions of dollars, but as 10 News investigator Mike Deason discovered, a group of powerful politicians without any company and without any product already had their own plans for that money.
Welcome to Hardee County. It's about an hour east of Sarasota, and this rural county is worlds away from the life most of us know. Not only is Hardee one of the smallest counties in the state, it's also one of the poorest, with nearly 29% of the people living below the poverty level.
So, how long have you been looking for a job?
About a year and a half.
Tell me.
And just nothing out there. There's just nothing here.
This woman, we will call Teresa, is so embarrassed about being out of work, she asked us not to show her face. In the time she's been out of work, she's gone to the Hardee County Workforce Office twice a week, hoping to find anyone who will hire a 55-year-old woman.
I don't know what the future holds for me, but I just keep plugging along one day at a time.
Does it scare you?
Yeah, sure it does. That's a lot of days I feel like I'm one step away from being under the bridge.
Teresa might have been able to cash in on a $2.6 million economic development grant that the county was handing out, but it wasn't in the cards for her because some powerful people already had their own plan for the money.
I'm not interested in giving an interview.
Meet Tampa State Representative Jamie Grant. His company, LifeSync Technologies, pitched a bold plan to county officials. Give the company $2.6 million, and LifeSync would create a cloud-based medical records firm and bring jobs to Hardee County. Public records indicate Grant had powerful allies and partners, including State Representative Jason Broder from Orlando, State Representative Ben Albritton of Hardee County, and his brother, Hardee County Insurance Agency owner Joe Albritton.
Your facts are off there, Mike. You need to check your facts.
Well, Joe Albritton wasn't involved in
Joe Albritton has no equity in my company, has never had any equity in my company.
But we did check the facts. And look what we found in the minutes from the Hardee County agency that handed out the money. Joe Albritton, who was on the board that gave Grant the money, abstains from voting on an issue involving Grant's company because he's a part owner. In addition, Joe Albritton abstained at another meeting, and his disclosure form says both he and his brother, Representative Ben Albritton, could receive special gain from LifeSync.
The allegation that anybody that was involved in the grant process received equity that was related to a legislator or that a legislator gave equity to is just completely offensive.
But critics of the LifeSync deal suggest what is offensive is that it appears the deck was stacked because the head of the county agency that issued the grant is this man, Jim C. C just happens to be the uncle of the Albritton brothers and shares office space with Joe Albritton.
Their company received millions of dollars.
No.
They didn't receive $2.6 million?
They did. The company.
The company.
Not them personally.
No, but they were part of the company.
Not them personally.
But you don't see
Not them personally.
But they were part of that entity.
Not them personally.
But it doesn't stop there. Meet Sue Burge, the chair on the board. Burge's son was also hired by the company.
You don't think it opens you up to someone saying it creates an appearance of impropriety?
I can't help what people's opinions are. I just know that he was qualified for the job.
And Jim C., who approved the grant money, says the same thing about his son, who was also hired by the company.
Or I threw in my 2 cents and said, you need to hire my son or we're not going to give you any money. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I don't, just from appearance.
That's your insinuation.
Well, the insinuation is that it might look
That's your insinuation.
But it might look funny that your son and the chairman's son.
And when I've told the other people the truth, they don't want to hear the truth.
But the truth that the legislators involved in the company in Hardee County don't want anyone to hear about is this scathing report from the Auditor General, which said the $2.6 million should never have been given to the lawmakers' company, LifeSync. It cites several reasons. 1, the company wasn't legally qualified to get the money. 2, the company didn't offer proof it was capable of making it all happen. 3, there wasn't a plan in place to see how LifeSync was using the money. And finally, the Auditor General contends the $2.6 million didn't bring any economic benefit to Hardee County.
What about the Auditor General? Was the Auditor General totally off base?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And while the Auditor General's office here in Tallahassee is charged with looking into improprieties like it found in Hardee County, Grant contends that the Auditor General and this audit are completely wrong. And everything he and Hardee County did was completely right.
It's discouraging, it's disheartening, you know, and it's despicable.
And what muddies the picture even more is that the politicians who got the $2.6 million violated their agreement with Hardee County and sold their interest in the grant money and the product they never developed. In return, they got more than 1 million shares of stock from the new company. Meantime, since the Auditor General visited Hardee County, the $2.6 million has created a total of 10 jobs. And 3 have gone to relatives of those involved in handing out the money. Stay tuned. More to come.
And welcome back. Our Mike Deason has been a busy man. A 10 News investigation getting action tonight. The investigators, Deason, of course, broke the story about 3 state legislators who got millions to bring jobs to a local county. But today, Reggie, very little to show for it.
A story aired on Monday, and now that state ethics investigators are involved in the case. All while the man at the center of the deal tries to spin the story. But Mike Deason and the 10 News investigators, they've got the real deal.
It's discouraging, it's disheartening, you know, and it's despicable.
This Hardee County woman, we'll call her Teresa, is fed up. She's been out of work more than a year and a half. That's why Teresa was so upset to learn that Tampa State Representative Jamie Grant engineered a deal that public records indicate involved 2 other state reps and several powerful people to get $2.6 million taxpayer dollars to create jobs in Hardee County. But as we reported Monday, this scathing Auditor General's report blasted the deal that gave the money to the legislator's company, LifeSync. LifeSync brought 10 jobs to the county, but several of them went to relatives of people connected to the deal.
We looked for good things that happened, but we were unable to find any. At the end of our field work, it's our belief that this had created no employment in the county.
The Auditor General also said that the politicians never should have received the money because they applied for it without having a company or product. After our report aired, Representative Grant complained bitterly to the Miami Herald and Tampa Bay Times about our investigation, saying that we misrepresented things in a way I've never seen. But let's look at the facts. But what about the Auditor General? I'm not speaking to me. The Auditor General said that you should have never gotten the grant, not you particularly, the way it was given out. That shouldn't have been given out.
Mike, I think your understanding is off, and I think that process is still running its course.
Grant is wrong. The Auditor General's report is not a preliminary, but a final audit. And that's not all Grant is wrong about. He told the newspapers, at the end of the day, it wasn't a taxpayer grant, it's private money. Not true. Page 3 of the audit talks about the grant and says the Board of County Commissioners may expend public funds, and talks about the grant being public funds several times throughout the report. And then there's the status of his business partner, Orlando State Rep Jason Broder, who avoided commenting to the 10 News investigators for weeks.
What are you trying to hide that you won't talk to us?
Well, I'm not trying to hide anything.
While Broder says he isn't trying to hide anything, Grant seems to be hiding Broder's involvement in the company. Grant told the newspapers Broder is a consultant for LifeSync, but state records list the politician as a director of the company. Finally, Grant complained to the papers, we never violated the agreement with the county, telling us,
there is nothing that we have ever done that has not been fully transparent.
Not true again. Page 7 of the Auditor General report says, contrary to the provisions of the grant agreement, the company did not obtain prior written approval to assign the grant agreement and, in effect, sell the deal to another company. The bottom line? A lot of money was handed out to Grant and his colleagues to help bring jobs to Hardee County, but to people like Teresa, it wasn't worth it.
Sure, I'll clean toilets, clean out dog cages, whatever. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I want to work.
But you can't find the job.
No.
As we reported, ethics complaints have been filed, and state investigators will now look into the allegations regarding these public officials. But the legislators may have more cause for concern. We also asked Florida Speaker of the House Will Weatherford, who's pushing ethics reform, to take a look at our report. And of course, the 10 News investigators will stay on top of this to see what he plans to do about it.
Mike, thank you so much. Now, we contacted Representative Jamie Grant today, and this evening he sent a response saying in part that he believes we are actively collaborating with people intentionally working against economic development in Hardee County. Now, Grant says he believes we are more interested in creating news than reporting it. And as so long as that is the case and until informed otherwise, we should assume that both Grant and his company are consulting with lawyers and exploring every potential recourse. We have posted Grant's complete response on our webpage at WTSP.com.
Well, when you elect someone to represent you, their salary is paid by your tax dollars. But what if some of those local leaders took that paycheck plus turned around and used their position to take millions more of your taxpayer dollars to fund their own business deals?
Well, the 10 News investigators found that it happened right here in one Bay Area county, and the investigator, Mike Deason, who first broke this story, has found the smoking gun that proves it.
And so I'm proud of the work that's been done.
Tampa State Representative Jamie Grant is talking about a multi-million-dollar taxpayer grant he received from Hardee County. But some who live in Hardee, like retired Air Force pilot Hank Kuhlman, say Grant should be ashamed.
There are specific Florida statutes that prohibit using your position as an elected official to your special private gain. You can't do that.
But the 10 News investigators have found evidence that appears to show Grant and another state rep, Jason Broder, got $2.6 million in taxpayer money because they're elected officials. Listen to a conversation before a Hardee County Industrial Development Authority, or IDA, meeting as the number 2 person in the agency explains why it's important that the IDA give the millions to Grant's company.
Not to mention Jamie, the one on the right. The first one.
Yes.
To the computer. He's a state representative.
Really? Oh, that helps.
And then there's another partner who is not here today, who is also a state representative.
Gotcha. I can always help.
The staffer, Sarah Pelham, explains it's good for the county to give big bucks to friendly legislators.
So it's not only beneficial for, them to get help from us, it's beneficial for us to help them. Yes.
Could be cool.
When we tried to ask Bill Lambert, the head of the agency that gave the grant, he said it would take 3 days to explain and wasn't happy when I recorded his reply with my iPhone.
I have 3 days to spend with you. It's fine. But I do want to ask you a couple of questions. Give me my phone. Give me my phone. Give me my phone and I'll call the police that you actually... Don't you touch my phone.
And that's why Grant is now the target of this ethics complaint filed by Kuhlman, who points out that Grant sold his company without telling Hardee County, as he was supposed to, in return for more than 1 million shares of stock of the new company, as well as a consulting agreement that paid him several $1,000s. And state records now show that Grant was able to increase his net worth from a little more than $1,000 to more than $100,000 in less than 2 years.
The people of Hardee County are figuring it out.
Meantime, Grant says this complaint has no merit and I am confident it'll be dismissed. He says it's nothing more than an attempt to tarnish my reputation at the urging of special interests. The claims made are patently false, and he says I look forward to them being proven as such.
There is nothing that we have ever done that has not been fully transparent.
According to the Auditor General, that's not exactly true. And the worst part, the taxpayer grant was supposed to help people in Hardee County, one of the state's poorest counties, get jobs. But so far, only a handful of people have been hired, and many of them are family members of local leaders. And that includes the husband of Sarah Pelham, who we heard saying on the tape it would be good for Hardee County to give the lawmakers the money. It was good for Sarah's family for sure. Now we'll have to see if the State Ethics Commission cracks down on Representative Grant and his colleagues.